All right. Hello, hello. Welcome, writers, to Let's Write a Screenplay Live. This is number 11 today. This begins the third week of Let's Write a Screenplay Live. So far, a lot of progress has been made. I started off with kind of a messy idea of an outline. With really not too many scenes down. I had a lot of Act 1 scenes, I guess. And now I have a full structural outline here. I've got a lot of kind of a first draft of a scene outline here. Obviously, it's kind of messy and there's a lot of notes still around and comments, and it's still kind of a big work in progress, obviously. But now I've got 4 full acts, all with their story circles, and all with some version of a scene to scene outline. Hello, Goulet, welcome in. Good to see you here. Zen Master, I see your question. I may get to that in a little bit. Asking me about writing a self-published novella and then trying to sell the IP for a film adaptation. Yeah, I'll just answer that really quickly, and I'll just say that it is a good idea to have a full version of the story that you have control over. So if you have a novella that is the full version of a story that you might want to make into a movie later, that's a good place to start. And does that make it easier to make it into a movie? It's very hard. I'll just tell you, it's very hard to get stuff made right now. We're in a strange spot. If you're trying to go the traditional way of going the Hollywood route, and I would also say that everybody that I've worked with directly that has sold a screenplay to a producer or to a studio, they have lived in LA. That's just my personal experience. Everybody that I have worked with directly that has sold a screenplay, it was because they were living in LA directly and were able to leverage their connections and their position in Los Angeles, whether it was through their job or through their world of connections and ability to take in-person meetings, plus an actual quality screenplay to actually move that project forward. However, I do like the idea of writing something that is prose, right? Novel, novella, this kind of thing, and using that as your launch pad, using that as your way to get your story out there. Hey, John, good to see you in here. Jay David, good to see you. Yes, this is an excellent time to write. Shams, good to see you in the Discord as well. Thank you guys for being here. Really, really excited to get into it today. So, right now I've been thinking about what really are the gaps in this working outline. What's the stuff that I haven't fully fleshed out? I'm kind of going to make a checklist here. Yeah, because I think there's some things I want to go back through this outline and start to figure out. So first, I want to figure out how I works, because it's supposed to be like it's a social media platform. Is it also like surveillance? That was something I played with. Does Henry work for the company, or is he a content creator slash influencer on the platform only? I think he has to work for it. I think Lana's involvement in the second half of the story is something that I want to play with. Maybe Ephraim sends her to maybe convince Henry to come back on their side in the second half. That's another thing I want to figure out. The actual how exactly does the commune grounds work? A lot of secondary characters I think I'm still missing. So I want to build out, let's put this under here, build out a posse of characters around Burke because he's a cop. So I'm assuming he's going to have kind of cop characters around him, maybe a sidekick that we see, maybe some other people. Flesh out some more cult members. And Pastor Burke's involvement is a question mark for me right now. Who else? Was there other characters I wanted to have in here? Hello, DeWall Visions. Hey, Giannis. Yeah, much earlier today, streaming a little earlier today. Hello, Bacano. Good to see you here. Yeah, streaming a little bit earlier today. I've got some stuff going on later in the afternoon, so we fit it in when I can fit it in, you know? And I think that's kind of how real writing works, right? Like, it doesn't really, you don't make any money immediately. It's not for a job. It's a creative task. And so sometimes it means that you are bouncing around a bit, and you don't always do things at the exact right time or the same time. At least for me, that's what I found. Yeah, townspeople is something else. Townspeople, and also with I think the how are we seeing the online platform? That kind of also goes into secondary characters, which would be Henry's group of maybe like internet friends, I would say. Could be a way to describe it. I imagine he has like a network of people around him online that we might set up in the beginning and then could help him in the end. Oh shoot, my bad. Sorry guys. I'm just hopping into it. My bad. Share the screen. Thanks, Epic Tips. You're the man. Always something, man. I thought I got it all good. I worked on the mic today. I was like, this mic is actually working today. No issues. Yeah, always something. Always something. But thank you, Epic Tips. We're up. We are up on the screen. We're good to go. Okay. So yeah, these are kind of the big questions that I feel like need to get solved, which are not fully solved in this first draft of this scene-to-scene outline. How I works, which is our social media platform. Is it also surveillance? There's also some ideas I was playing around that they also do like satellite internet or something that could play into the end. We'll see. And then how are we actually seeing this online platform? I want to think about how it's playing into the story. I imagine we're going to be in screens here and there. And then Lana's involvement in the second half of the story is a question mark for me. I know that she's not going to like join the cult or whatever. Definitely not. But I think it's going to be interesting to see maybe how she's tempting Henry to stay on the city side. How exactly do the commune grounds work? Like, what does it look like just visually? And I guess this also kind of comes into our location setting. There are some different ideas being played around where the story's actually taking place. And that's something else to think about here. And then secondary characters. This is a big thing for me, right? Like, we've got a lot of these main characters clear. I understand who my main opponents are. I understand who my main allies are, all of that. But I really want to create a world of secondary characters that can really flesh out the story here. So these are some of those there. So that is really my kind of today's tasks. What else did I want to work on? How is this actually? Physical space. Oh, this is interesting too. Like story symbols is another thing I want to work on. And I also want to work on the contrast between our two worlds. So we've got the modern city on one side, and then we have the cult commune slash nature on the other side. And I want to work on this as well. You'll probably notice that I really love outlining. Like, I'm a super detailed outliner because I've just found that when you're really making something that has a lot of depth to it, that there's so much detail that goes into even a small story that's 120 pages long in a feature, and there's so much depth there that it, to me at least, has never made any sense not to outline, because it's very difficult to actually be focused on the scene writing when you're writing the scene if you haven't figured out all of these deeper elements of what's going on. I like to be able to focus on the energy of what's actually being debated, what choice is being debated in a scene, rather than having to also build the story world while I'm trying to write the scene at the same time. That, to me, causes me a ton of stress, and I usually don't come out with something that I like. It ends up being half-baked. And so outlining helps to write the story in a sense of painting in and filling in all these different ideas. And then when you're writing the scenes, you can actually use all those ideas to make the first version of that scene already pretty strong. And then you can go in and revise and polish and this sort of thing. Arrow says, keep it up, Tyler. This series has inspired me to start writing again after a long lull. Thanks so much. Excellent, Arrow. Glad to have you in here. I see Miles and Adithia also in. Good to see you guys in the Discord. Graziano says, I'm working with your outline on Discord. I love it. Excellent. Everybody, if you want my story frameworks, my outline process that I use to work in this document and I use with my clients, you can get them for free in my Discord. So if you click the link below this live stream, it should be the top link, should take you to my Discord. And then in the rules tab there, you will see at the bottom of the rules tab a link to get my story frameworks. These are my outline processes for features, TV series, sitcoms, and short scripts, short films that you can use to write your stories. So yeah, today I think it's going to be more world building and ideas rather than so much plotting. I think I have a decent sense of the plot so far, but it's the world that I really want to build in here. So story symbols is interesting. I had this idea about owls. Yeah. Coyotes. I like the idea of coyotes being coyotes are a wild creature that also engages in the modern cityscape, which is something I want to play with in this story. Like if you go to big cities, especially in California, there are coyotes, even in Los Angeles. Like you can just see them around because they float between the mountains and the nature and the city when they want to. Definitely a great owl for the corporate world. Just kind of symbolizes a lot there. Other big story symbols, I don't know. I mean, I know I want to deal with I have obviously I. I is both social media and, yeah, it's got to be both social media and surveillance. And I think that can play an interesting double meaning there. I wonder if I want to do like an old media, like a Fox or CNN knockoff. Kind of like like ATN, how Succession has ATN. Maybe I do something like that. Other story symbols. I think like a great tree would be cool. I love the idea that there's a great oak tree at the center of the commune. That would be nice if it can work out. I've also been thinking about maybe this takes place in the Appalachian Mountains or near them. Maybe mountain homes. No, I don't want stuff like this. I want like old Appalachian homes. Maybe something like this works. Maybe it's kind of more of a log cabin feel. Could be interesting. That's probably too big. That's cool. Honestly, stuff like that would be really interesting. Even stuff like that. Stuff made out of wood, that's something that could be reasonably built by people with hand tools would be cool. And maybe it's older like this. I guess, did they move into homes that already existed, or did they build all of them from scratch? It's kind of my question. Because I could go super fantasy with it, and I could go like what I had discussed earlier with like a Hobbit house, right? Where they have like houses actually built into the grass. Or I could go more something like this. Because like a full wooden house like this, even on the inside, that could be super cool. What other story symbols are there? Obviously, the dirt bikes are a symbol. Dirt bikes versus cars is a big one. So how I works, I think, is big. I'm going to go through my outline a bit and think about this. Yeah, this is probably the biggest thing. How exactly do the commune grounds work? That was already what I was asking about. Secondary character story symbols contrast. Yeah. Okay, we're going to start with this. How I works and how we're actually seeing the platform. So in the beginning, Colt comes into town for an inexplicable ceremony, but it's March, so it's the start of the new year from our perspective. They probably put an Aries symbol in there. Aries symbol in fire. They come into town together all on dirt bikes, yes. Helmeted masks. They leave a crop circle type thing. Then news helicopter, eyes copter. Maybe. This could be like this could be local news. Local news in association with I. That would be interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So local news helicopter, like News Channel 9 or whatever. You know, something like this. And then but we see the feed of the helicopter on I, right? So it's like the same thing, right? If you watched a video on YouTube of, you know, traditional news, that's what I'm doing, right? I'm trying to create this connection between how we kind of take in our news today versus how our parents or grandparents might have been taking in news and playing with that. Please come after them, run from the police, run through the streets. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Yeah, this is a big note. Everyone we interact with in the normal world has a phone addiction. They're always on I. So that's something that, again, is what I need to insert here. Okay. So citywide news. Yeah. So we see the live feed from the news helicopter through a stream on I. Everyone is half watching the TV stream and also on their phones. This could also be introduce Henry's account on I, him. Yeah, so again, is it like a... Well, I think it's becoming like social media isn't becoming now, where platforms have multiple softwares integrated in these kinds of things. Like, Henry has, like, if you go on Twitter, you also have Twitter Spaces, right, where you can do voice. So it's like text and voice. You can also put videos on there. If you go to Instagram, they also have threads and they have reels and all this stuff. So I think it's going to be like that. I'm just going to make it like this all-in-one app. It's like the catch-all. So Henry's account on I. We see him essentially tweeting out posts about the cult. Maybe we even see DMs or people replying to him. And there's going to be a few accounts we will see over and over. So this is what I need to figure out in terms of the internet people that he's talking to. So yeah, I need to make it like this. So Some hating on the cult, others loving the drama, and one or two actually asking interesting questions, like, where are these people from? Maybe even someone knows what this symbol is, or they're asking questions about it. Not sure. Yeah, so the narrative about the cult. So I want to have this like the I narrative. So I guess this is another thing. Maybe the main live stream people are watching has commentary about the cult, and we get the quote unquote official narrative from this live stream. There's some homeless incel cult. They think there are a bunch of tweakers in the woods burning stuff for no reason. Some people even say they're cannibals or worse. They do sacrifices, these kinds of things. These are the big narratives. So this would be interesting too. Being interviewed on stream through I, Detective Burke says this needs to end and he's actively looking for any information on the cult. Brian Corporate Boss enters, owner of I is coming in. Cops are going to be here as well. Yes. So here I have I as both a social media platform and a camera surveillance platform. So that's what I would be setting up here, which actually would be good. Cops are coming in to access I cameras that are placed around the city. Yes. Okay. So these are good notes. I'm going to integrate them in. So then if I did it this way, so we could have the main live stream. This stream maybe could cut between the helicopter footage and cameras around the city, which would be interesting, right? Like essentially like live CCTV of the bikers moving around the city, running from police. And that would be awesome, because now that would this would essentially set up everything, right? Like, and what I'm trying to do in this opening is get a ton of information out in a way where we're not telling, right? But I'm actually showing. So I want to show I in action. I want to show I as this live stream, news, social media platform that Henry has a big account on. And to kind of show him as a person that people are interested in his opinion on stuff like this. And we show Detective Burke, and we show Ephraim, and we show the cult, we show everybody. We get the official narrative. And this is the official narrative, essentially. Being interviewed on stream through I, Detective Burke says this needs to end. Brian enters, says Ephraim, owner of I, is coming in, and the cops will be coming to the offices. Burke / cops will be coming to the offices. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and then down here, Ephraim and the cops come into the offices. So all filmed and vlogged. In the intro, more I posts. Henry is letting the internet know how things are progressing. And so I think this way, quickly he is becoming the place people go to learn more about the cult investigation, which probably also is the reason that they place him, they give him the task to study the cult. Yeah. That works. This is a maybe, I don't know. Okay, yeah. I like this too. So again, setting up the power of I. Burke wants access to phone cameras around the city that have I accounts to help find the cult. The same kind of thing, like people allow, he is well aware I has the ability to watch through people's phone cameras, though it's not really public information, but you know how it goes. Same kind of thing now, right? Where we're all like, we kind of know our phones can be looked through. And then I think Ephraim denies this, which will be good for this point in the story. I think that's really going to be helpful. To give, because I want us to start on Ephraim's side, right? Like we want to start really seeing this character as a good guy in the beginning, like somebody to emulate and look up to, and then over time our view of him changes. But this gives us a ton of initial setup on what's going on with I. So we have the cult, and then we go directly into I. And so now we have the world of this internet news place versus a cult shenanigan. It's perfect. Yes. This is also correct. Henry posts on I about the crop circles. We see comments. Same commenters as before. We should start recognizing usernames and the opinions associated with those names. So what I want to create is like 3 or 4, like the common. So character webs, you guys probably noticed I haven't really done a 4-corner opposition like for this yet. And maybe I do. I have one loosely in the sense of like Pastor James, Ephraim, Owen, and kind of create in my mind our big 4 or 3 corners of like our mentors, right? We've got Owen, mentor, Burke, Ephraim, and Pastor James, which kind of create their own 4, and then Henry falls into that. Anyways, I want to like character webs are big and small. Like there can be little character webs and there can be big character webs. And what I want to do with I is create like a few usernames and profile pictures that we see over and over, and we can start characterized by what side of a particular, like where they are on their viewpoint, right? Like are they pro the cult and interested to see what they're doing? Are they anti them? Are they just here for the drama? Do they think all of this is just useless, right? Like that, their opinion characterizes them. And so I want to create that on the platform where we start seeing a few of these people, and then Henry ends up reaching out to them later on as people that he's able to use to spread the message of what's going on. So and so this is something I'll have to figure out. Burke used to work with him. Burke has to say this. Yeah. Burke says he knew Owen, grew up here. Yeah, Burke used to be his partner. I think he has to say this at this point. And then Burke is going to give this next clue. The official narrative story comes from the recommended historian of some kind. Not exactly sure how this character is going to work, but we'll see. Henry Lonnet and the historian's conversation is stilted. The historian doesn't want to give him anything. Yeah, maybe. Stonewall by pastor, doesn't really want to talk about it. From the pastor, he finds their mother. Yeah, so I don't think there's any I stuff there. Yeah. Already know this. Okay, I got a big old note here. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to do probably some passes on. That's another thing to do. How are the substances, addictions, things too fast from playing in the scenes? Actually making sure it logically flows. You know, everything is connected. If you put something in the early acts of your story, it's good to keep those things going, right? Like, it's better to have a few story elements that you repeat throughout the entire story and change and morph and use multiple times rather than having 50 things that we only see once or twice. Okay, party scene. I've made his entourage. Invite Henry to some exclusive party. And then in this scene, Henry pushes back against Ephraim a bit. Says, not quite sure the narrative is right. Ephraim is pretty agreeable. Says the incidents like cop killings always get nuanced. This is an interesting setup here that I'm playing in. Yeah, so the lie is that Luke was killed by the cult. And then there's going to be this important setup here. This burnt effigy setup. I don't know how this is going to play in later. It needs to be answered. I can't just introduce this and then not bring it back. But for now, I'll leave it like so. I don't think we get to see exactly what happened. Maybe there's finds an old news story explaining what happened. That might be a little bit too exposition heavy, but we'll see. Yeah, I want to really make, like, it needs to have kind of an internet feel. Needs to have that. Act 1 needs to have this, like, ever-present sense that we're chronically online, that something's being posted or talked about, or these kinds of things. We see the locals through the internet. We hear interviews through the online research. Some of this might be out of order. Finds info. Maybe this stuff goes before he meets back up with Ephraim. That would probably make sense. This stuff goes here. He would have to be doing research. Have to do more research here for this to be a scene that matters. Maybe this kind of combos with this. Henry meets cult leader's mother. That probably works. Yeah. I think that could work. And then what about this scene? Henry meets up with a local cop who gives an off-the-record perspective on what happened to Owen. Maybe Henry meets him. I don't think this works. Maybe him and Lana speak solely through Instagram, or not Instagram, but like he's messaging her through there, and so yeah, everything just becomes connected. Like there are no texts, just online messages. Gets an entirely different perspective on the cult and life. Tweeting this out. Yeah, so I think that would be the move. So I'm trying to create this kind of pendulum back and forth between where Henry's opinion is at any given point on the cult. So in the beginning, it's going to be super negative, and then it's going to, once we get to here, he meets cult leader's mother, he meets Charlene, it's going to go a little positive, or like he's going to be like, wait a minute, there's actually more going on here. Then I think she gives him books or something, and he starts learning and reading and figuring out more about what's going on. And then we have the pendulum swing back, where now Ephraim is coming in and giving another piece of information that also pulls Henry back towards his side, right? So I'm kind of using the, what's the truth, what's people lying to, and then how is this exposition getting brought forward back and forth. And so it's not just exposition, it's also this question of, is this the truth or not? And that makes the information not just information, but like emotionally and philosophically charged. Yeah, the locals thing, I don't know if the locals thing works. If I did it this way, it would be maybe with Charlene, like here. Okay, and then, yeah, Henry's going to write a story that's much more holistic and balanced on the cult leader. Henry conducts second interview of Burke about the cult, armed with all his new information. So I think asks about Luke. Did they identify the body? I don't know. Something like that. Burke's association with him. Yeah, maybe we have this scene. While he is Lana's also messaging him. Yeah. This is kind of redundant. Maybe I combo them into this somehow. mean, maybe this is just... Maybe it's a video. Like as a journalistic eye video rather than just a writing project. That could be cool. Documentary style, written out with maybe interviews plus B-roll. That would be interesting if I did it that way. So we make it recorded interviews there. That would be interesting. And then there's also this, yeah. So they go to the crop circles, they meet with Burke. Video interview with Burke at the burn symbol. Yeah, that makes the most sense because it doesn't really like who reads just. I mean, I guess you can still read articles and stuff, but video would just be so much better, right? And it would play in a movie so much more interestingly if he's making a documentary style video rather than just writing an article. So I like that. Posts a story on I. Returns to the offices with his story. Presents the story to Brian. Brian hates it. Returns to the office with his, let's say, documentary. Presents it to Brian. Brian hates it. Immediately gets Ephraim involved. They do not want Henry posting this video. Releases a documentary on his account. So then, yeah, it should probably be a scene after this. Henry gets back home and checks his video on I. It's blowing up. Let's say 500K views in 3 hours. Crazy numbers. Tons of comments, replies, shares. Maybe even like we jump to next morning Video already has like 2.4 million views and not slowing down. Trending on I. This whole thing. Henry's DMs are flooded. Yeah, just like notifications going crazy. And then the cancellation. To yeah, so maybe this is kind of together. Super divisive story. Some love it. Tons hate it. Yeah, gets fired. His account is taken from him, not deleted. Another thing I want to do is get clear on the choices within each scene as much as possible. And then we get a climax of Act 1, which is not going to have anything to do with I. And then all of Act 2 is essentially not done, maybe up until the 6th. See, new current I narrative here. Yeah. Okay, then here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what that is. Oh, baby. Yeah. No. Okay. Then Act 3. Okay. Now Act 4. Yeah, I mean, this is still the least fleshed out act. But yeah, okay. That really helps how I works. How are we seeing? We're going to see it on the screen. Like, we're going to be looking at the actual screen. Like you would find in a YouTube video or something like that. Lana's involvement in the second half of the story, yeah. So the Lana arc here is she's part of Ephraim's entourage. Henry's attracted to her. They meet. He sees her at the party again. DMs her. Yeah. Sees her at the party with Ephraim. DMs her. She ends up, once he buys the dirt bike, she's like, "You're crazy. This is stupid. Don't do that." Then, yeah, she also stays on Ephraim's side when he gets canceled. And then she doesn't really appear in Act 2 very much at all. Maybe that changes, but I don't really see how she plays into the Act 2 very much. And then Act 3, she's going to play into Act 3, definitely, because she's helping him break in. And I think she actually does help him. We'll have to see, though. But I think she does. And then Act 4, I think Act 4, she ultimately sides against him. So, yeah, I think Lana is at the gala. Crochet generation. This is just Google Docs. Nothing crazy. This is a free Google Docs. The outline that I'm using is an outline process that I built. If you want access to my outline documents, you can find them in my Discord, linked below this live stream. And you go to the Rules tab in the Discord, and at the bottom of the Rules tab, you'll see a link for my outlines there. So yeah, I think that's pretty clear. Maybe there's like an Act 3 point where she tries to convince him on behalf of Ephraim. Like, maybe here. Is Lana here as well? But, not sure. How exactly do the commune grounds work? That's a good question. It doesn't really... All I'm seeing about this... Do I have any kind of map? Main gathering building center. Wooden like a Viking hall. Yeah, that would be cool. I'd love to see maybe like an AI could generate me a like Appalachian Mountains themed Viking hall, you know, like they're called Viking halls, right? Yeah, like this kind of thing. Yeah, like this, like a main meeting and eating building would be awesome. I think this would be super cool. That one is crazy. Look at that. How cool is that? Yeah, so some kind of like main meeting hall, and then the inside would kind of look something like this, right? I think it would be like if I could make it, yeah, like this is great. Something that's like that, has that kind of Viking sense to it, but then also comboed with like an Appalachian Mountains kind of build style. That would be really cool. I think that would be really interesting. Appalachian Hall. Let's see. No, I'm not going to get what I'm looking for. Yeah, I don't think so. But that's what I'm going for. Something like that. Victoria says perhaps she is the side of his life that he has to let go of and finally decide to abandon, like a climactic choice that shows his belief. Yes. Yes. I think you're right. I don't know where exactly it will go. Maybe it is in Act 4. I mean, it would have to be. But you are right, Victoria. I want there to be a... Like, Lana ultimately symbolizes staying in the normal city world. And that's not what he's doing. He is leaving it. And she is not on the same path as him. She's not on this path of, like, finding out this truth, leaving modern society, this kind of thing. So then it probably would be, if Henry's gonna make it back to the cult there, it would have to be maybe somewhere in here. Maybe also Lana tries to trap him, or Ephraim sets Henry up with Lana, and then Henry tries to convince Lana to come with him. She won't. And she actually sends the police after him, something like that. But it definitely needs to be in Act 4, obviously. And that ultimately becomes the end of the relationship. This is not really like a romantic film necessarily. I think they're not getting together at the end. This is like a whole, what's happening here is he likes her and wants her to come with him, but like it's just too big of a flip. Like he's going on a totally different journey that she just can't come with him on. And that, I think, becomes the meat of it. Now, it will depend on, does she actually try to trap him? I think maybe she does, or like Ephraim tries to set Henry up, but then when they're actually there, she kind of feels bad about it because she realizes like, oh, like actually I care for this person, he cares about me, but it just doesn't work. Like they're not on the same worldview wavelength. I guess, yeah, Pastor Burke's involvement is probably another character I need to take a look at here. So I first see, or not Pastor Burke, Pastor James. That's incorrect. Okay. So we first see James here. So he believes brother's dangerous. And then meets Khalil's mother. So far we have one scene. Maybe there's a follow-up scene before he posts. And then we're really not going to see him in. I don't think we would see him in Act 2 very much. Act 2 is just going to be so commune heavy. And then climax, or midpoint climax. Maybe there's a... current eye narrative. Back in the city. Yeah, maybe... Big C said, I thought you were using 3x structure. You have 4 acts. I do not use 3x structure. I use 4 acts, and I've been using 4 acts for a long time. 3x structure doesn't really make any sense to me. Let me write this down, and I'll explain what I mean. Detective Burke goes to Pastor James and interrogates him about what he told Henry and where Henry might have gone. James is fearful, complies fully with Burke. Burke still pressures him for every last drop of information. James is uncomfortable the whole time, but fully complies with every step. So Big C, I use 4-act structure. So think about it like this. A story is basically a setup and a payoff, right? Just like a joke has a setup and a payoff. That's 2, right? 2 things. We start with something, we climax. So in a story, your act 1 is your setup act. We understand what the world is, what's going on, this sort of thing. And then we have our first climax, which is essentially our dark climax, which is the midpoint of the story, right? So if you're going to have this big climax at the end where everything goes great and your characters win, then you want the direct opposite of that, right? So you are pushing the drama as far as you can in both directions. If you just have the happy part, you don't have the sad part or the dark part, then that happy victory at the end doesn't smack as hard. And so in your midpoint, which is going to be kind of here, you will usually have some major loss, setback, huge problem. Like in The Dark Knight, for example, Rachel dies at the midpoint. Huge loss. And you see that sort of stuff over and over. In The Martian with Matt Damon, he loses everything. Like he's on Mars by himself and the whole habitat that he's inside explodes at the midpoint, right? It's a huge setback. Then Act 3 of 4, Act 3 becomes another setup act where you are after that big midpoint where everything went wrong. Now what's the new situation, right? How do we reorganize? How do we reset up? And then Act 4 is your final climax, your final climactic act where you actually get to the end of that story. So that's why I use 4 acts. Denzel, this template is available. It is inside my Discord. If you click the link and join my Discord, under the Rules tab, you will see at the bottom of the Rules tab, you'll see Get My Story Frameworks, and it'll be a link, and then you can get my story framework documents. You can copy them into your own Google Drive or download them or use them in Word docs, this kind of thing. So yes, the template is available in my Discord for free. So yeah, I think we're gonna have this Detective Burke and Pastor James scene. James tells him about their mother. And so then from there, Burke goes to see Charlene. That's how that'll work. Maybe. Okay, then Act 3. Yeah, where is Pastor James playing in Act 3? Anywhere? Yeah, this actually is going to be fun. Robbie goes to see James. Yeah. Robbie is hurting, distraught, full of rage, goes to Pastor James because he's looking for, ultimately the cult leader, but he's looking for a man or a righteous man to guide him, and he hopes he can find that in Pastor James. And Pastor James gives him the best advice he feels like he can, but it does not really stick. It does not really impact Robbie. So that definitely is good. We see James there. And then where might we see him in Act 4? Does Pastor James officiate Burke's funeral? I don't know if that would work. Maybe. It depends on how big of a pastor he is. Like, I guess that's kind of a question. What type of church is it? How big is it? Because it could be like, is he running a mega church? Is this a small church of a few hundred people? That would be interesting to figure out. John was mentioning the camp buildings in Midsummer. Yeah, that's interesting. How does Midsummer camp buildings? Didn't mean to capitalize. Oh, that's okay. It's like an A. Is that a spiral? Or is it concentric circles? I think it's circles. Interesting. I think it makes more sense for him to be, maybe it doesn't have to be a mega church, but like 800 to 1,000 people attend this church. So maybe they have multiple buildings. They've got like a complex of buildings. And so it just gives them something to lose. But he does live in fear of public opinion. So yeah, Robbie will go to him in Act 3. And then how might he play? Yeah, maybe he officiates the funeral. Zarabrook is asking, how can I get in contact with you for a project? So my website is at the top of the screen here, practicalscreenwriting.com. Go there, go to coaching, and then you can apply for coaching there. If you're interested in working on a particular project with me, answer the questions in that form under my coaching page on that website. And then I'll take it from there. Oh, right. Federal cops approach Pastor James. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I don't need to make him like massive in the story. Just enough to where I don't think townspeople are going to be super. I think it's going to be a lot of internet. Like people might be around and stuff, but I think like the culture of who is following this story, all of that exists on the internet, right? Like I don't think it's everybody in the world who is all keeping track. This kind of is all of this story symbols. It's under here. This is another big thing for sure. Get clear on the choices. Yeah. Henry's network of people that help him in the end. So that's one thing I haven't worked on in this. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So okay, that's great. That's already in there then. Hmm. Maybe I need to split this into like major members and minor members for the story. These will all be major characters. Major character. Then we've got our minor members. Yeah, maybe this Leo, I'm not sure. Virgo, Libra, Silas. And then I don't even know about these last three signs. What we might do with those. Also, there's going to be children in the commune. Is there a child main like any important children characters. That would be... I don't think the children are going to speak very much. So they might just be more around than actually speaking. John says, it used to be that even some college fraternities turned into cults. Well, fraternities are simply secret societies light. Like the cult, or excuse me, fraternities come from Masonry. They come from like Masonic orders. So the idea is just like a fraternity is just the stupid man's secret society. You know, like it's not, or maybe the degenerate secret society, something like that. But, where it's like, you don't actually get any power or influence or anything of value. You just get bros that you drink a lot with. So it's like, you don't really get the same kind of true unity or I guess more useful unity. Like you could say it's true unity. You could say like, oh, you know, people really get connected or whatever. Maybe they do, but it's not the same, I think, than really actually having a unified fraternity. Yeah, and that's how do I want fraternity brotherhood to play in, especially Act 2. As Henry's joining. Yeah, maybe there is like a Leo character I need to make more of a main person. Just don't know who yet. But high energy character for sure. High vitality. High emotionality. I don't think he needs a ton of cops. Maybe one main partner, two to three kind of C tier helpers. I think would be plenty. I don't even know if he needs an actual partner. It would be good though. Like kind of one sidekick kind of character. But then these characters could really be anybody. So just, police. So maybe he doesn't have to be so big. He could be pretty small. But when he comes into the offices in Act 1, he'll have to go. But he can just come with a lot of cops. We don't have to name them all. Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't really need this posse. Then fleshing out more cult members, I think my only... Maybe Luke's wife would be interesting. I need to name these two people. See where they're going to go. And figure out their purpose, because I don't name it. I mean, I know this one. Close to Robbie, maybe? Hey, Tim. Yeah, maybe we have like close to Robbie here. That would be cool. Might work. But I haven't really fleshed them out though. I'll have to, I guess, do that a different time. How do the commune grounds work? I mean, I know it's going to be houses, main meeting area, some farm area. And I mean, what else do they need? Amish. How does it work? Like, can I get like a sense of how would the Amish like build a community? I mean, it's barns, it's houses, it's fields. Yeah, maybe they got barns or a barn. Right, I have barn in here where they keep air. A building where they make fuel, bonfire pit. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, bonfire pit. Their observation tree house. Field. I gotta figure out electricity. Bathrooms. I think we can do like outhouses. Well for water. A library would be interesting. Old movie projector. That could be cool. Some kind of old movie projector. Maybe they got some kind of classroom too. Like a schoolhouse. I want it to feel kind of big. Commune grounds, houses in the woods with clearings nearby where they can be out in the sun, maybe a river. If you flew over the area in a helicopter, you would likely not see any buildings. They would be all under the trees. No one in the cult eats meat. They exist on breads, fruits, vegetables, chicken, eggs. They might have cows, goats for milk and cheese. They don't eat them. The cult has shire-like homes. Yeah, so that was a recent idea that they have more shire-like homes. that cult has homes that blend naturally with the area around them rather than being suburban boxes. How do they farm? Yeah. Probably no big machinery. Maybe they use like hydroponics, things like that. Maybe they have a building by a pond. Hydroponics farming by a pond or a lake. Could be interesting. And then, yeah, is it in the mountains? I don't think it could be. I mean, it could be. Could it be by some river? Maybe they could use. What are those, like, what are those wheels called that generate electricity by a river? Isn't there a name for them? Mill, like a mill wheel. Yeah, water mill. Yeah, I like this. Water mill wheel. Maybe they generate electricity that way. That could be cool. Doesn't that look awesome? So cool. Yeah. Okay. So I'll probably start here next. This is probably my next big task. That will just keep sending me through this outline over and over again, and then hopefully I can also add in this Leo character, add in some of these other characters. But the big next thing is going to be getting clear on the choices within each scene, because the choices, how you're actually pinning the drama on something, whether or not just talking or giving exposition or arguing for no reason, but there's actually a hinge point, and that hinge point is the choice. That choice creates a dilemma. That dilemma creates two sides giving their arguments on what to do, and now we actually have a web, or we have not a web. We have a real moment of drama based on a choice. That's what I am going to focus on probably in the next session, in tomorrow's session. I think that's a pretty good stopping point today. A lot of today has been more filling in some gaps on this outline, trying to, I followed specific characters through the story, right? I followed Lana through the story today. I followed Pastor James through the story. Just trying to get, making sure that these more minor characters, that we're actually seeing them every single act, and that their world is changing, that we're seeing their position being played in each act rather than just once in the beginning or just once at the end or a couple times throughout, but that in every single act of the story, we're seeing those character relationships evolve. We're seeing those characters have to deal with new situations. So, yeah, I think that's pretty strong. Good quick 2-hour session. We're staying on it. I think I would love to have, by the end of this week, I would love to have a scene-to-scene outline that I could really feasibly start getting into pages quickly. And I think that's pretty close. I think I'm pretty close to that. And then it will be the actually writing scenes. That's gonna really be interesting. I'm gonna take the scene writing pretty slow, probably, when it is time. Not rush through it all, and really try to take each scene as its own turning point in the story. But we'll see. Thank you guys for hopping into another episode of Let's Write a Screenplay Live. I hope you have enjoyed. If you'd like to join my Discord and hang out with the community, you can do so with the link below this live stream. If you want my outline frameworks that I'm using to write this story and that people use to work with me on their screenplays, you can find them in the Discord link below under the rules tab at the bottom of that tab. You will see a link to get those frameworks for free. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.